Welcome to Tell Your Story, um, Author Highlight. It's a virtual writing space pop up where authors, writers, aspiring authors and writers gather to learn, to connect, grow, um, and um, gain skills to further their writing or to self-publish. So that's what we do in this space. And so today, this session, I am delighted to have Dr. Laura Jones with us this evening. And she is going to talk about character development. She is a multi-published author, several books, and I am thrilled to have her. We have been friends probably for over 20 years, and and I am a fan of her books. I'm a fan of her books and how she writes. Um, and tells stories. And so she's a phenomenal writer. And so uh, this evening, we were going to start out with a writing prompt for those in attendance. And so,
But let's
I'm
still
just,
do it.
yeah, okay, okay.
No, we
So,
can still do it.
all right. So this evening's writing prompt, I was just going, I think one of the things for me as far as writing is sometimes just being able to key in on a writing subject. And so being able to dedicate that time to expound on a subject matter in your writing and being able to develop it and incorporate it into your story or to your book. And so tonight, we're going to take a little time and write about joy. So, joy is going to be the subject for this evening's prompt, and just let our creative juices flow. And we're going to maybe about 5 minutes. Um, and let's just write about joy, whatever comes to mind. Um, just let our creative juices flow. So let's do that. Time it. So 7:10 now, so let's 7:15.
Are you gonna tell us when the time is we're
Yeah,
ready
yeah.
to
Yeah, we
start?
got about 1 minute. Got one more minute. All right. All right. So our conclude our little prompt session. So this is going to open it up. If Dr. Laura, you want to share a little bit yours, I can share. I'll share what I came up with.
Right.
Um, I can
Want
go.
to go?
Say again.
You want to go? You want to go first?
I can go. Yeah, I'll share mine. So I just kind of just jotted down thoughts, just freestyled it. What came to my mind. So joy. I thought I found you one day, and really on many days since. It seems you went away, and I couldn't find you in the darkness of my mind and heart. But I discovered you were waiting in the shadows, never far away, always near, ready to be embraced, ready to say it's okay. Now that I know this, hello, joy. You're always welcome in my world, no matter what comes my way.
Wow, it's awesome.
Thanks.
Oh, okay, so
Your
I got
turn.
to find mine.
Okay.
All right, so I have joy is an inner feeling that for me lasts longer than happiness. I think when you feel joy, I feel joy, it is deep internally and it's not easily interrupted.
Mm,
Joy for me comes from faith in my relationship with God. It can come from knowing that no matter what is going on around me, there is something that is bigger and everlastingly comforting, which is kind of what is helping me go through some of this time that we're in right now. So I see joy, while happiness might come externally from different things, or just a person might just be happy about having something. For me, joy is is internal, and it's not about having things or something that can trigger the happiness in that moment, but it's just an enduring feeling that is more lasting than more that is not as fleeting as happiness. That's
okay.
what I had in that moment.
Okay. All right. I love this because, with writing to me is art. It's art. And
Mhm.
um, and so we both had two different approaches. I think I came more like a poetic and
Oh, okay.
you were more like just introspective. And,
Yeah.
but both, keying in on the aspects of joy.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so I think, as writers, that's what we do. We bring um our own styles, our own
Perspective.
and different days can be bring forth different things out of us, I think too. Or just even depending on, sometimes when I'm writing, I feel like it is sometimes more poetic, but then there's other times where it's research, it's digging into some other things. to
Mhm.
pull out what I need for that book or that story, or that chapter.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so what about you? How did you feel about the writing prompt?
Haven't, haven't, haven't had that. It was challenging.
Okay.
I had a writing exercise like that since, God, can't tell
Been a
you
while.
when. It's
Okay.
been a while. I found it challenging. Um, but I also realized as I was writing that I went to my faith,
Okay.
maybe because it was so challenging and it's what I know in times of difficulty and challenging times. I go, that's my go-to.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, given additional instructions or time, I probably would have been poetic. I probably would have,
Okay. Okay.
gone a different way. But yeah, that's the direction I go when I'm not sure about
Okay.
anything.
Okay.
And then the topic also to me was spiritual, so
Yes.
that it didn't
Yes.
take much to sway me in that direction.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think it definitely still ties back to, just how, as writers, how we process things,
Mm-hmm.
information, and
Mm-hmm.
and then we um share it. We share it with the world, we share it with our audiences. And so that's the beauty of it, um, of writing and any art form. We take in whatever the stimuli, the vision, the creativity, and we
Mm-hmm.
release it, to the world. And so I love that.
And, that's the whole idea of, I believe, when we become authors, we have that kind of power to create our own world.
Yeah,
And so whatever the stimuli is, we can move in the direction that we want to go in because we are in control. We're creating our own world when we're creating these stories. We're in control.
yeah, yeah. And we have such latitude. God has given us such latitude.
Mhm.
It's amazing. I just, sometimes when I'm on social media sometimes and I'm just looking at things people create, the art, and it's amazing. Just the ideas, like, wow, how did they think of that? It's just like amazing. But yeah.
These have you been paying attention to these babies? These
Oh, yeah.
AI babies.
Yeah, yeah, I've been seeing those come up.
Just how people are using these tools,
Hmm.
to express their creativity.
Yes, yes. So,
I've been fascinated with them.
they crack me up. Just like, yeah. I think I sent one to my siblings a couple weeks ago. We were just like, oh, like just laugh. It just makes
Yeah.
it even funnier when you're just looking at these little kids say these, adult
Yeah.
things or whatever. So,
And these are the voices that's coming out of their
hmm.
mouths. It's
Yeah.
I've been having fun with them too.
Yeah. But I want to thank you again, just for coming out, saying yes, um,
Mhm.
to this event, this session of Tell Your Story. And so now I'm going to just turn it over to you, um, and allow you to present what you have on character development. So let me share my screen again. Okay, let me start from. Okay. I don't know why it says that, but we're going to continue to share. All right. Over to you, Dr. Laura.
All
Let me know
right.
how you want me to progress.
I'm sorry.
Let me know when you want me to go to the next slide.
Oh, certainly, certainly. Uh, it's funny that you gave me this topic, character development. My sisters have been talking about writing,
Mm,
and I've, they've started and stopped. And I used to take writing for granted, I think. I Writing was something that came natural for me. And it wasn't until I moved into the position of instructor, having to grade other people's writing, that I began to understand the challenges. And so, even though writing came natural to me, watching my sister struggle with writing, I didn't know how to teach it,
okay.
if that makes sense,
Hmm.
because it was so natural. So I had to go back and learn the things that I knew, innately knew, because it came through God. I had to go back and learn the process of it so I can share it. And I had started writing a lesson on how on creative writing, really. And I was thinking through the process of character development. So I was like, okay, it
Okay.
all kind of fell in place. But character development in the process of learning creative writing, learning it from the perspective of knowing the technique so I can teach it. I want to first, at this point, separate character, creating the character from developing the character. So I'm going to intertwine a little, integrate a little of the character development, character creating, just so we can go through to character development. But the whole concept of creating a character is far more involved than what I'm going to do for tonight, because we only have like a few minutes.
Okay.
So in storytelling, character development, it is really about uh, engaging narratives. And with you and I'm going to ask you to just interact with me a
Okay.
little.
All right.
How do you see character development when you think of it? How do you see it? How would you define it? What does it mean for you?
Okay. I think I would define it as, you know, taking a character, taking an ideal of a person, perhaps, um,
Mm-hmm.
in a story, and, allowing, and I guess it depends on your story. I guess maybe you have to have an ideal of the story, and then these characters are just, you know, you want to take that character and be able to, see how you want them to flow in the
Right,
story, what
right.
kind of personality they have, who they're going to be, what role are they going to play in the story. And I'm guessing you may have your main character, and so they're gonna maybe everybody else feeds off the main characters. I don't know, but I'm interested in
Yeah,
learning
yeah.
more,
It's
how that
about it's
process works. But yeah.
yeah, it's about, as you say, you have the character, and you you're looking to do this. When I first started writing, of change, and I don't think it's wrong one way or the other. Is I would have the idea of the story that I want to tell, and I would just start writing. And that worked for me for a long time. After a while, I realized I need to map out some stuff, So what we're going to look at is, go ahead, you leave that up. What
Okay.
we're going to look at is understanding the development, character development. We're going to look at the different characters, as I mentioned earlier. We're not going to go deep into creating the character, but it's just for the introductory part of going into the process of the character development, because you need to have your character in order to develop them. We're going to talk about character arc, which is really about the journey, and it's in that process of developing your character where you take them on a journey and get them to where the end result of who they are to be at the end of the story. And we're going to look at a few techniques of how to do that. So if you go to the next slide. So understanding character development, next slide. Character development is that process. It's the process of creating believable, relatable characters. Okay, so it's developing characters that your audience or your readers can connect to emotionally. And when you have really, really strong, well developed character, it drives the narrative. It influences the plots, influence the overall progression of the story. And it is as you're going to see later on as we talk, it is in that process that your character develop. Your character start with one thing, and the journey of developing the character unfolds through the story. Next slide. So as we mentioned, you have different types of characters, and you're most likely familiar with, having your protagonist, who is your central figure or your central character in the story. As you mentioned, Connie, that character drives the story. The story is built around that person. The antagonist, of course, you gotta have your antagonist. You gotta have that person.
The drama.
Or the drama. And sometimes the antagonist doesn't have to be a person.
Oh.
Sometimes the antagonist can be environmental.
Okay.
It is whatever source that serves as that the tension or brings the challenge or the conflict in the story is the antagonist. Okay. And then of course, so generally it's a person, but sometimes it's the antagonist can be outside of something other than the human being.
Okay.
And then of course, go ahead.
Yeah, let me ask. So if the antagonist is like you said, environmental or outside of a character, I'm guessing the same development has to go into it as far as like creating this antagonistic thing.
Right.
Same process as
right, because keep in mind a lot when you think about the development of a character, the development of a character happens through the conflicts and the challenges.
Okay.
So sometimes part of the purpose of the antagonist is about the growth. Also, it's about creating the tension, creating the challenges, creating the conflict that the protagonists grow from.
Okay.
Okay. And then the supporting characters. Of course, these are, those other people in the character, in the stories that are there they're part of the journey. They create the depth and the perspective of the main character's journey. So we're going to look at how did that come along? Okay. These characters, they start from somewhere. You've written some books. Before we move a little further, how do you determine your protagonist and your support? How do you come about deciding, I should say, on the different characters? What are some of the thoughts they go into?
So for me though, I haven't delved into the novel space. So my books have primarily been nonfiction and and so and it's bits and pieces of my life. So I don't so I can't say I've had any character driven books
Okay.
so far.
Oh,
Let me see my children's books. Yeah, they're kind of a more message oriented,
mm,
and not like different characters.
okay.
Yeah. But
As
I am
you,
intrigued. I am intrigued. So we'll see.
one of
The
my,
future holds.
as you mentioned, even though you wrote nonfiction, you were still writing from experiences, some of your
Hmm.
experiences. And one
Yeah.
of my books, Whispers of Hope, came from a conversation that I had with my dad. We were just sitting around, and my dad, he lost his mother when he was maybe like 7. So he doesn't have a full picture of who his mother is. So he's gone through life with stories. He has vague memories of what she looks like.
Hmm.
But you lose your mother at 7. You don't have you haven't learned her long enough, haven't known her long enough to learn her.
Hmm.
So he's gone through life with stories of who she is. And I remember we were sitting in the living room. I was visiting him, and we were talking about his mom. He's just sharing. I'm trying to get to, as much as I could from what he has. It's my grandmother. I'd like to know something about her.
Hmm.
And as he began to share with me who she is and the stories that he has, um, it's so funny. I I'm listening and I'm saying to myself, wouldn't it be crazy if these stories that, because they were like wild, I won't go into them right now, but they were like, okay, Dad, I hear you. But I remember thinking, wouldn't it be crazy if he has gone through his whole life with these stories and they're not true?
Hmm.
They're just uh, from the perspective of someone else who passed the story on to him.
Hmm.
And just having that thought triggered the book Whispers of Hope. And
Okay.
I created a character not based on the stories he told me, but tried to parallel what he was saying and create stories that parallel his journey. For me, just to get an end, I believe I just kind of wanted to go through the journey that he's talking about and create my own ending,
Okay. Okay.
pretty much. As we were talking about, that's the power of storytelling. I wanted the ending to be mine, not what he was telling me.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
No, it just made me think about what you were saying earlier about, we were talking about as artists or writers, we have the power to
Yeah.
create, our own
Uh,
stories and
yeah.
our own worlds. And so,
Our own world.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted. I was intentional about it as I listened. I was like, what if he's gone through life with that story or those stories? And I just figured, I'm gonna parallel what he's telling me, but I want the ending to be
To
different. I
envision.
want it to be my ending.
Hmm.
And that's not to discredit his ending, but like I said, for whatever reason, that just triggered something. The question triggered something in me, and I wanted to explore it.
Hmm.
All right, so next slide.
Okay.
So when we think about stories, if you watch movies and read fictions, you're gonna find that there's some basic uh, types of characters in these stories. You have the hero.
Hmm.
Uh, you'll have stories with the love interests. I'm skipping all over the sidekick, the
Okay.
tricksters. There's some the mentor, caregiver. We hear about people not wanting to be typecast. In other words, they
Oh,
don't want to be locked into a particular type of character.
mm-hmm.
So they are a universal type of characters that you'll find showing up in stories, and those are good places to start when you're writing, thinking about the characters in your book. Who's going to be the hero? Are we gonna, the shadow is kind of like the opposite of the hero, the suppressed aspects and desires of the hero is also can be portrayed in another character, the villain, the love interest. So as you're thinking through your characters, there are a template. There is a template for your common characters. But
Okay.
I would suggest to not stop there. Don't just take a particular character archetype and go with it. It's predictable. Those characters, they're when you look at the template of those characters, you know what they're going to do.
Next, yeah.
So for me, the goal would be use that as the foundational and then give that character uh, something else.
Okay.
And I had a little a little game that I wanted to play with, had we have more people.
No,
If you go
okay.
to the next slide, but
Okay.
we're gonna just like kind of go through it.
Okay.
I was gonna play a little game with that I called archetype mashup, and we're gonna pick. If you go to the next slide, uh, pick a character, choose a character,
Okay.
and take that particular character and add layers of uniqueness and complexity as we're talking about having that those universal characters as the beginning, as the template, and then add something to them that is different,
Okay.
that is unique.
Multi-dimensional. Okay. The dimension.
Exactly.
Okay. Mm.
Right. So that you can make your character different from
The type.
make it uncommon.
Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Make it more than just the type.
Mm.
And I'll share quickly, since we're not going to go through that exercise. I'll share quickly uh, how I did that with one character, which is a love interest in
Everything.
my last book, Everything She Needs.
Uh-uh.
And this particular person, I made her so unrelatable for my readers that when you first meet her, you're like, oh my God. Because usually the love interest is, soft, but I wanted her to be so, as quote unquote, so stuck up,
Okay.
put it in layman terms. I wanted her to be so stuck up that it would be hard to see her
Different.
become, that lovable uh love interest, sexy love interest type person, because she was so closed in, so
Hmm.
to speak. But making her that way gave me space to develop her
Okay. Throughout the story. Okay.
throughout the
And
story.
you can see the progression of her.
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. I love
So
it.
do you see
Great
what
book. You guys got to get the book. Yeah, definitely got to get the book.
so that was one of the things about her. Also, I made her a dancer.
Hmm.
And so much about her is not what I made her a ballet dancer. I'm not a ballet dancer, but I made her a ballet. I know nothing about ballet, but making her a ballet allows me to do the research and learn about ballet. So part of who she is my own curiosity about that about that type of dance. I love watching people do ballet, so that gave me the chance. So much about her is more about my own interests,
Okay.
my own curiosity. So if we go to the next slide.
Okay.
When you're looking at characters and you've decided on the type the you've chosen your characters and you've hopefully you've moved beyond just the template and you've given them uh different personalities to make them more unique, or different elements of who they are to make them more unique. There are certain things, there are certain types of characters you want to think about. Certain aspects of their personality that makes them who they are. You can have like flat, you'll hear flat and dynamic a lot in these types of conversation, but there's some aspect of flat and static, and that shouldn't be statistic, should be static. Flat character, they're limited, they're simple, you know, just your basic.
Okay.
You know, they're important to the story. Their personality is not all over the place. They're important to the story, but they're not who you're showing up for, if that makes sense.
They're not the main
Sometimes it
character.
is.
Not the
Right.
main.
Yeah. Static. They're a little bit more complex, but what is similar between the flat and static characters is they're like kind of like unchangeable.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying? So when you're using these characters in stories, when you're developing these, sometimes you end up developing the people around them.
Okay.
As opposed to who they are, because who they are well defined. They're not going to change much. Not going to get changes out of them.
Okay.
Then go to the next. Another type of personality that you'll find is the dynamic and the round characters, and these are the characters, they undergo significant change, that internal journey, that character arc, which we're going to talk about there. They go through significant changes. The difference between a dynamic character and the round character is that the round characters, they are all over the place.
Okay.
They are quite complex. They have emotional layers, multiple emotional layers. The thing is, sometimes they may not change. And that's okay, because they are so complex that, what are you going to change them into, a flat character?
Okay. Yeah.
So the dynamic character, they're going through changes. There's so many aspects of who they are. They evolve through different experience. They grow, they adapt. And that's the predictability aspect of who they are. They're going to be who they start out is not who they're going to end up with being. The round character, the only thing about them is that they're unpredictable. You don't know if at the end, if they're going to be any different, but it's okay because they're so layered. So they're not boring. So those are, when you think about the personalities that you're going to give them, you want to think about it from that perspective. in Everything She Needs, there's a character, Dorothy. She's a flat character. The way she started is just, she is who she is at the end, but
Mm.
she also serves a very central, uh, she has a central role in moving the story along.
Okay.
So the flat and static doesn't necessarily mean they're just there in the background. They have important roles
Hmm.
in the story.
Their role is needed. Yeah. For
Their role
the
is needed,
whole story. Yeah. To flourish.
and
Good.
sometimes their role highlights somebody else's character, gives you something to compare and
Mhm.
contrast uh, in the story.
This is amazing. This is fascinating. I love it. It's also made me thinking about, just, they say art imitates life.
Mhm.
And so this is kind of putting me in the mind of, just even in our daily lives, the characters in our everyday lives have these same things, these same complexities and, we have static people in our lives. We have those round characters. And
Mhm.
yeah, yeah, it make our lives interesting.
Yeah. And this is one of the things to think about when you're creating characters. Is not a part of what is intended to talk about now, but as you brought it up, it's really important to understand uh, personality traits when you're going to, if you really want to be true to your character. There's some people who are introverts.
Mhm.
Introvert doesn't necessarily mean they don't like being around people. It's just that introverts, they're drained. Being around a lot of people
Mhm.
for an extended period of time take their energy. And introverts, they get their energy from alone time.
Mhm.
Extrovert, like who I am in my true personality, as an extrovert, I can we get on the phone and we talk for hours, right?
Right.
That's part of who I am by nature. I get my energy externally. So when I'm around people, when I'm talking to people, when I'm interacting with people, it's my energy goes up.
Mhm.
So it takes me on a high. My husband, on the other end, he appears to be an extrovert, but he's really an introvert.
Uh,
When he's around people, when he comes home, all he wants to do is like, oh, let me lay down. Give me a
I
minute.
need a break.
Exactly.
I feel you, Tony.
Right. So when understanding personality traits, we're so dynamic, as you mentioned, in real life. These are people we're interacting with. So when you decide on a particular character, if you want to make the maybe static or flat or dynamic or round, it'll be I would advise also to do that extra research on the specific personality trait that you want that character to have, and dig deeper into how that particular how people with that particular personality trait interact. What are some of the things that they do, they gravitate to? How do they interact with people? How are they in relationships, so that you can do the research, so that you can develop your characters authentically.
Okay.
All right, next line. So we're going to talk about character arc and growth, and it's basically character arc. If you go to the next slide for me. It's really about that journey. So you have your character, you've created your character, you've you've decided what role the character is going to be in your story. Again, this kind of quick, going back, you have your character arc, your character archetype. and you've add that uniqueness, you've looked at the personality, how that person is going to be in the story, and now you're taking them on the journey. And that's what the arc is.
Okay.
Uh, Character arc is, it refers to that personal growth, that transformation. And that's basically what it is. It's that journey that the characters are gonna go through. The importance of character arc. Character arcs are essential. Can you imagine um, writing a story and nobody changes?
Mm,
Nothing. Uh, no matter what's going on, there is no transformation.
mm-hmm.
I used to watch what's this movie? It used to be a sitcom, but Monique used to be in it. I can't think
Oh,
of it now.
Parkers.
The Parkers. And I love Monique. I love her character. But from the beginning of those episodes till the very end, and I would love for somebody, and I mean this from my heart, because sometimes we're blinded. We don't see everything,
Mm-hmm.
and so sometimes we need somebody to bring that perspective to us where there's that blind side. And I couldn't get with her. I'm sorry, not necessarily her, but the writers of her character,
Mm-hmm.
because I just didn't see why there. I didn't see the transformation.
Okay. She was the same.
Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
the way all the way
On
through.
top. Yeah, always over top.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I looked at the character and I wondered to myself how. And again, there's blindside on my part, so I would love to get someone else's feedback on this. This is a Black woman, a grown woman in college getting her degree, has her children, and I understand, the whole comedic aspect of it. But most of the time, even going through the educational journey, there's some level of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And
You can
yeah,
see it.
so
Yeah.
I just use that as an example again, as someone in the audience watching it. I absolutely enjoyed it, but in terms of critiquing the characters, I just didn't see that. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see the change, and maybe it's a change that I wanted to see. Maybe there was a change there, but it's not the one I wanted to see.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But when I think of having characters with no change, that comes,
Tomorrow.
her
Okay.
character comes to mind. All right, so there are different types of character arc. And again, character arc is the journey. Sometimes it's positive, it could be negative. I remember when I was doing my master's, someone said to me one day, people change. They don't always change uh,
Mm-hmm.
in for the positive.
Mm-hmm.
They don't always move up. Sometimes you can go deeper in whatever faults you have. The transformation can be negative. uh so these different arts, they each serve a distinct uh part of the process in your story. If you go to the next slide.
Okay. Uh-oh.
So again, you start with the initial, your positive arc that's represent the growth and development. The negative arc is the decline in that the characters, let's say, fall from grace, so to speak. The choices that the person is making just becomes more and more detrimental. And then, of course, as we talked earlier about, there's the flat where there's no significant change. The character just remains the same despite what's going on around them. And again, that's necessarily that the character is boring. Sometimes the flat character changes the world around them. It's not necessarily that the character changed, but those around them. The character remains the same, but people around them change. Does it make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, next slide. We're gonna be wrapping them shortly. All right, so again, we begin with this. We're going through the stages of the character growth and transformation. You have your initial stage. This is where the character begins, sets the foundation for the journey. The events that occurs through the story, these events triggers that the character journey, the character arc, pushes them out of their comfort zone, pushing them to the place of growth. So you really want to just be very intentional about where you're taking your character, how you're moving them. Sometimes, as you keep in mind, as you're also discovering who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So the more you discover who they are, the more you might decide, to do. You might have started with one thing, but who they've become, you might decide to move them in a different direction, to promote their growth. The challenges they face, how they're being tested, how they adapt, how they respond to adversity. All of that is part of the growth. And sometimes you can see it in the end, how it's different from the beginning, how they might have started out, how they would have responded in the beginning because of the things that they've gone through, the transformation that they encounter, make them respond differently in the end. And you can absolutely see how they've developed in the growth.
Wow. So good.
All right, the last thing I want to go over, if you flip, take me to the next slide and the next one, developing techniques. We're just going to go over a few of them because of the time. Some techniques to keep in mind as we're talking about moving the characters from the first stage to the transformation stage is show, don't tell. You'll hear this a lot. When you're writing the story, reveal the character traits through their actions. In other words, don't say she was happy in the beginning, and now if this is, let's say the story is one of tragedy, and now she's always sad. You don't want to say that. You want to show it.
Okay.
What are those things that contributes to happiness? And what are those things, or I should say dictate or contribute or dictate the sadness, as opposed to say, put it in a way so your character, your readers can
visualize it. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And conflicting traits, highlight contrast. These are just some of the techniques to use when you're thinking about their journey, how you're moving them through. Internal monologue is one that also it's an important one because sometimes the journey is not external, sometimes the journey is internal. That's what character arc is the internal journey. And so hearing their thoughts and what they're feeling, that internal monologue is extremely important. It's extremely important technique to use in developing the character, so your readers hear what's going on inside of the character's mind. All right, so that's backstory. Backstory is also another one. Sometimes where you meet the character is not really where you just meet them on that journey, but along the way, you may not understand who they are. You might have a character who is quite dynamic. You don't know why, but the backstory begins to reveal, and you get a chance to have a better understanding of who they are when you know their backstory. So that's another technique to incorporate.
Okay.
All right, so that's what I have for tonight.
Okay, we start the share.
Any thoughts, any questions?
I love it. I love it. so thorough, but just concise as well. I just enjoyed the teaching and getting a better understanding of the what goes behind the story.
Yes.
And so thank you so much for sharing. And it seems like there's something I was going to add. So when you're developing the character, so do you have in mind in the beginning, prior to like writing out the storyline, do you pick your characters in the beginning, um, or they come out as you write?
I like to say they come out.
Okay.
Certain, like I was mentioning with talking to my dad, I only had the character of his mom, his dad, and I had him and his brother and his two sisters. So because I knew what I wanted to do, that environment was set. And
Okay.
so I had to develop the supporting characters. I knew where I wanted, again, because I wanted my own ending.
Okay.
So I knew how I wanted the main character uh, to be.
Okay. So you
Right.
you pre-decided. So the other ones
Right. They just kind of
kind of
evolve
evolved. Okay.
as I'm going along. And sometimes, you'll find that as I was saying, as you're developing the characters, you're meeting them
Okay.
on their journey too. And as you're writing their story, and as you're also meeting them on that journey, and all you're doing is directing the journey. And as they're changing in order to be authentic to who they are, sometimes you have to submit to the journey that they're on and tell their story.
Okay. That's so amazing to me. And then how, my last question. So as you're writing, how is that process to interlap them, as they're moving all together, and what is there a thing that you have to do to make, to interlap their stories?
Well, when you and let's go back to my last story, everything she needs. The main character Victoria, she comes into their environment. So
Okay.
when you think about it in real life, that we're interacting, we're interrelated, our paths are crossing. So in terms of how do you interlap, it's really how we do in real life.
Okay.
We're crossing paths, and all you're doing as the storyteller is picking out those uh, relevant crossings. You
Okay.
think about you. Do you see what I'm saying? Think about,
Hmm.
for example, you and I. We knew each other, and we were talking way before we met physically.
Right.
So if we're telling our story, now doesn't mean you didn't have a whole nother life going on.
Right,
But if
right.
you're telling the story about us, we're going to pick out those aspects of our lives where
Okay.
we cross.
Hmm.
The only thing is, as the storyteller, you're
In
deciding on
control.
that.
Okay.
Right. So, and again, authenticity becomes important because your readers are going to say, oh, that don't make sense. you
How do you
know,
do that? How do you do
yeah. So,
that?
and sometimes in life, sometimes things don't make sense.
That's true.
If that's your intent, then you got to stick with it
Hmm.
because that's happens in real life.
Yeah.
All love. One of the biggest uh, in terms of feedback, I would say in terms of readers from Crossroads to Avalon,
Another
which is
good
more
one.
was like a love story. They wanted the two. I'm giving it away now. They wanted the two characters to be together.
Hmm.
That doesn't always happen in real life. And because my intent when I wrote that was to have the follow-ups to it, so I kind of wanted to
Oh,
leave
yeah.
them apart so that would give me space for, I wanted it to be
Another
a
book.
series. Right,
Okay.
right. So that was like, oh man, I wanted them to be
Yeah.
together. Like, Yeah, but in real life, sometimes,
Yeah. And that's what I guess I get, is an opportunity really for the reader to expand their thinking,
hmm
too, when
yeah,
when the writer takes them on a path that they didn't
hmm
expect. So,
right.
you
And
know.
and but what I learned from that also is your readers are picking up your book or your audio or whatever because they want something that's going to take them out of their everyday thing.
Mm.
So that experience for me, of course, the ending was intentional. That's how I wanted the ending, as I mentioned, for different reasons. But it made me realize from the reader's perspective, you don't want to disappoint your readers. You know,
Okay. Yeah.
they want to they're there for the fiction, they're there for the journey, and then it's like all that and they're not together.
Right.
So that for me, that was the lesson for me in that process, to also, yes, I wanted my own ending, but at book signings it makes sense when I'm able to talk about the characters, and
Mm.
if, like in this case, it'll make sense for the readers to understand, uh, but when you're not connected with all of your readers at all times, so you also want to be cautious of the journey that you're taking them on, and you don't want to give them a letdown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, I know sometimes you watch those movies and they just have these crazy endings. I'm like, oh man.
Yeah, yeah, like really, or
Right,
like why do it end like that, or you
right.
feel like you
Yeah,
want to know
leave us
more.
hanging. Why would you, whatever?
Yeah, yeah, but
Uh,
again, like I said, would I do it again? I think I probably would,
okay,
uh, but I'll be more mindful. Be more mindful of it,
okay.
uh, of the ending. That's important. You want to leave your readers, and some people, in terms of critique, that's I look for the critique. Not everybody, had that critique, but the critique is what makes you think. The critique is what makes you
Develop for different
better,
for the
develop as
future. Hmm.
right as we're developing the characters. You also want to develop as a writer,
Hmm.
right?
Wow, this has been so good. I'm excited for people to hear the replay. And I welcome those who hear the replay to reach out. Where can people find? I'll have that information as well in the insert of the post or what have you. But where can people find your work, and also tell a little bit about your upcoming projects, because Dr. Laura is working on some bringing some of her stories to film and stage, and so yeah.
As we're talking about that, what I wanted to do with Crossroads in Avalon, that's one of the things that my intent at the time was to do the series. But we grow, we change, and we're at a place now where independent filmmakers, and the tools are there to do so much more than when we started writing 20 years ago. So I've gone into the process of learning
Yeah.
how to
Right. Yeah.
write, stage, and screenplays, and actually decided to go that direction with the second part of Crossroads to Avalon, uh, which will be entitled "A Heart to Love Again."
Okay.
So that will be the second part of it, but the goal is to bring it to uh, film
Okay.
as
Awesome.
opposed to TV.
Awesome. So stay tuned for more from Dr. Laura. Get the books, be on the lookout for her upcoming projects. And so we thank you. Thank you for tuning in. And we hope.
Right.
Oh, go ahead. Go
You had
ahead.
mentioned where to get
Oh
it.
yeah, yes.
Engageandescape.com
Okay.
is the
Get all your books and
yeah,
material.
that's my website where you can pick up copies of the book. Yeah.
Okay. Engaging escapes. Check it out.
Engagement
Check it
escape. Oh,
out. All right. Well, thanks again, Dr. Lara. Appreciate you.
oh, kind of
And,
great seeing you.
this has been fun. I've enjoyed it.
Yes, yes, yes. I've enjoyed it too.
Great. Well, until next time, we'll see you guys.
Take care.
Take care.